Okay. So we'll begin discussing what asynchronous programming is, and then we'll discuss a couple of use cases regarding it. Async await is available as an inbuilt feature in .NET. It was available in .NET also. So .NET Core also adopted this feature, and async await is available as an inbuilt capability. So we'll quickly talk about different types of methods that are available. Like you have synchronous operations available. So whenever you execute such type of methods, so you do not get the control back to the caller until and unless the entire method is executed. So this is generally a synchronous operation, synchronous method that's available. What .NET Core introduced was like it introduced asynchronous methods. So how does an asynchronous method differ from a synchronous method? Is that in case you see that there is an input output operation, you see there is a call that is blocking that operation. So that method would return a task object to the caller to say that this task is blocked, and it can then execute the operation. So as you can see in these diagrams, so let's say there are three operations being performed within a method. So fetching data from API, setting timeout for 5 seconds, database operation. So in a synchronous operation, all three would be executed one by one. Whereas if you talk about asynchronous operation, so once an operation is blocked, the control would return back to the caller, and then the caller can start performing the other set of operation. And once all operations are blocked, the call returns back to the actual main caller. And then if there is a synchronization context, then those pending operations would be executed sequentially, and the response would be returned back to the caller. We'll quickly talk about the way these asynchronous operations are done. So let's talk about an example that you want to perform some operations, like you want to pour coffee, heat a pan, fry eggs and all. So if you would be doing such an activity in synchronous programming, so you would be executing one method and then you would be proceeding to the other. Whereas if we talk about asynchronous programming, so what actually happens is like you start executing an operation from the main method. So once it starts blocking, so the control returns back to the caller, and the caller can then start performing the other operation. So this is the way the operations are executed. The benefit that you get out of it is that your thread doesn't have to block on input and output operations, and it can rather continue executing rest of the instruction set. So the benefit that you achieve out of it is the response time. So you reduce the response time of your application because your thread is able to utilize that time period in performing other operations. So I'll quickly talk about some of the use cases for asynchronous operations. So let's talk about a use case in the web applications. So there is a web application, it's receiving numerous HTTP requests. And all of your threads are busy in waiting for response from, let's say, database or an external web service, or let's say a file system. So in that scenario, what will happen is that if there are new requests coming to your web server, so those requests would be blocked because there would be no new thread available to cater that request, and there would be scenarios that most of your requests would also start timing out. The general solution that we see in such scenarios is that people start increasing the replication so that there are more threads available to cater the requests that are coming. But still, we have a question in mind that do you still think that we are able to utilize the full potential of a single instance? Like, let's say if you have 100 concurrent threads in your application, so do you think that you are able to utilize all the entire potential of those 100 concurrent threads? I would say no. So I would say if that is a scenario happening, you just convert your synchronous operations to asynchronous. So what benefits will be reaping out of utilizing those asynchronous operation is like you would be having a better utilization of your threads, because your threads are not performing any operation. They are rather waiting to get a response from the input output streams. So if you are utilizing the better potential out of your thread pool, then you're anyhow bringing in cost optimization to your application, because you won't have to upscale your application uh, to that instance level that you used to do with synchronous operations. I'll also quickly talk about another use case where asynchronous operations help. So you might have seen this scenario that uh, there is a UI, you click on a button, you start performing any operation, and your UI is frozen. So that is a general scenario. But what if you do the changes, like you proceed with asynchronous programming? What will happen is that in case the operation is blocked, you can still do changes on your UI, because your UI thread is not blocked on getting response from that operation. So that's how asynchronous programming comes into picture. I'll quickly talk about syntactic sugar of asynchronous programming. Uh, the way you create asynchronous methods in .NET is, let's say you have a method that is of type void. You just need to append the async keyword, and you need to replace void by task. So that is how you convert your synchronous method into asynchronous method. And I also want to clarify that if in case you want to consume any asynchronous method and you want to await that response from an asynchronous method, so your caller should also be an asynchronous method. So that's the change you do. Similarly, if there are methods that return a string or maybe another data type, what you need to do, so it's the same syntax. You need to just append the async keyword, and you need to replace the data type with a generic task of that specific data type. So that's how you convert uh, a synchronous method into an asynchronous one in .NET. I'll quickly talk about asynchronous methods and task parallel library. So a lot of people might still have a confusion that there is already a task parallel library. So what is actually the difference between asynchronous methods, and what is the difference between when you create a new task by executing task.run? So asynchronous methods, they introduce concurrency in your application. Whereas if you say you create a new task, it will introduce parallelization in your application. So you can understand it in a way that, let's assume my hand is a thread, and let's say with using my hand I'm able to, like, let's say I'm preparing tea, then I can utilize the same hand to even boil eggs using it. So I'm introducing concurrency, that my hand is able to perform multiple operations together. Whereas parallelization means that I am utilizing my one hand to, let's say, prepare tea. I'm utilizing my another hand to boil eggs. So that is, I'm parallelizing the operation. So I'm introducing a new thread to do that operation. So I'll quickly talk about basic differences between asynchronous and task.run. So asynchronous methods, they run under a single synchronization context. So in web-based application, there is a UI synchronization context under which your rest of your asynchronous operations run. But whereas in ASP.NET Core application, that synchronization context is removed. So all the asynchronous operations, they run under a task scheduler. We'll quickly talk about synchronization context also. So there would be a context switching between asynchronous calls. Whereas if you create a new task, so it runs under a separate task scheduler. Asynchronous methods, they usually run in a single or a multi-threaded environment. So your asynchronous operations, once they are blocked, they might run under a separate thread in case there is no synchronization context available. Whereas when you say you run a task, so you create a new task, separate task scheduler, and your methods run under that separate scheduler. Uh, Asynchronous methods are mainly useful for input-output intensive application. So wherein your methods are actually waiting for input from an socket or maybe another file system. So async programming is generally useful for that. Whereas parallelization is generally useful for CPU intensive operation where you intend to parallelize multiple tasks and you want to execute them at the same time. So what benefits we reap out of asynchronous programming is we get a better throughput, and we are able to have a better utilization of our resources. Whereas with task parallelization, like we do generally improve the response time because we have multiple operations running in parallel. But the drawback that we might have with executing multiple tasks in parallel is that your thread pool might start getting depleted, and in that scenario, like your entire throughput of your application might reduce. So you reduce the response time by running parallel tasks, but in turn you do decrease the throughput of your application. So that is a drawback that you receive. I'll quickly talk. We earlier talked about synchronization context. So I can say that synchronization context is kind of an object which would help you synchronize the different asynchronous methods. So let's talk about a UI based application. So you have a UI context. So since all the asynchronous methods, they want to make changes on the UI, so it's required that you share that synchronization context on that. So whenever like multiple threads are awaiting a response from external service, so you do not want them all to be executed at the same time, so that the changes of one method might override the other. UI based applications have synchronization context available. ASP.NET web applications also had, whereas Microsoft removed the synchronization context in .NET Core web application. So let's say if you have multiple async methods awaiting response from external system, so they might still be executed in parallel. So that is a new feature provided by Microsoft. Console applications, definitely there is never a synchronization context. So if you have multiple asynchronous methods still awaiting any external input output, they might still be executed in parallel. So that is something to know. I'll quickly talk about control flow, like how does the flow actually happens in asynchronous methods. I'll take an example of a UI based application in which you have a synchronization context. So you have a synchronization context available for all the method calls. So let's say you click on a web UI button, you execute method 1, then that method internally is invoking method 2, and then let's say it's invoking method 3. So method 3 is blocked as of now. Let's say it's awaiting any external input output. So method 3 at that time would immediately return back the response to method 2. It would return a task object, and since method 2 is right now not awaiting the immediate response from method 2, so it might continue executing rest of the instructions in method 2 until it needs to get the data type, that response that actually method 3 wants to return. Let it be string. So let's say if, when we reach the execution point where we say await method 3 and I need to get its response, so method 2 will continue executing rest of the instructions in sequential. So now let's say in next step, method 2 says that I need to get response from method 3. So we execute the statement await method 3. So my method 2 is also blocked during this time frame. So since method 2 is blocked, my method 2 would be returning a task object to method 1, and it would return back to the caller now. So if there are sequential operations available in method 1, then those instructions would begin execution. Else, if method 1 is also awaiting directly method 2, then my control would return back to the synchronization context. So now my synchronization context will go to one of the methods. So all these methods got queued in my synchronization context. So my synchronization context would now go to method 3, get the response from method 3. So once that's available, my next method available in queue would now begin execution. So now my method 2 was awaiting response on method 2, method 3, since it was also already awaiting on that. So my method 2 would now begin execution and it would be completed. So next in queue is method 1 because it's still awaiting on method 2. So now since method 2 is completed, my method 1 would also continue its execution and it would then and at the end return back the response. So that was how the flow actually happens in those type of applications in which you have synchronization context. So now we'll move to those type of applications in which you do not have synchronization context. A basic example is ASP.NET Core based applications. So I think there was a synchronization context available in ASP.NET applications. So Microsoft decided to remove it from ASP.NET Core. So I'll quickly talk about, so a task scheduler has scheduled execution of method 1. So method 1 is now invoking method 2 and method 2 is now invoking method 3. So let's say method 3 got blocked. Similar to what happened in my UI based application, my control returned back to method 2. So my method 2 would execute all the rest of the sequential instructions now. So let's say now, so let's say method 3 has also received the response from input output stream. So my task scheduler can at the same time also now it can execute method 3 because there is no synchronization context available that needs to block the task scheduler from executing method 3 in parallel. So task scheduler can at the same time execute method 3 also. So now, so let's say method 1 is awaiting on method 2 and method 2 was blocked due to method 3. So my control has returned back to method 1. So since my method 1 is also blocked, my thread returns back to the thread pool with the task scheduler. So since our method 3 was executed earlier because task scheduler figured out that method 3 can now read out the response from input output stream. So now task scheduler can directly invoke method 2 because it was awaiting on method 3. And then once a response from method 2 is available, method 1 can also now continue executing its operation. So that's the difference you get. If you have a synchronization context, the scheduler must ensure that the methods are executed in sequential by blocking on the synchronization context. But whereas in applications without synchronization context, methods can still execute in parallel. So that is the benefit you get out of those. So this is the flow chart of how actually asynchronous invocation is done. So let's say there is a download something method and you are awaiting. So how does the scheduler actually work on it? So it sees whether is it called from a task. If it is an external task from which this asynchronous method is invoked, so you need to use a task scheduler that you created. Else, you need to see that does this application have a synchronization context. If synchronization context is not available, then you can continue using the default task scheduler, so which uses a thread pool to execute those asynchronous methods. Else, if there is a sync context available, then you can schedule the execution of task using synchronization context.post. So using this method, so all of your asynchronous methods are blocked and then they are executed in sequential. So that's a basic difference you see. So I can quickly move to an example. So I already have an asynchronous application written over here. So I have a main method. I also have some asynchronous methods. So this is an asynchronous method returning data of data type toast. Similarly, here are some synchronous operations and here are some asynchronous operations. So I'll quickly walk over like what I'm actually trying to do. So I'm trying to prepare some coffee and then I say I want to prepare eggs, bacon, I want to make toast with butter and jam. So I'm trying to do these operations in asynchronous behavior. So I can say then once these three operations are completed, then I can, let's say I can start pouring juice so that I can now have my breakfast. So I'll quickly execute its run so that you can have a quick view how actually context switching is happening, and your different threads are executing different methods. So I'll quickly start debugging. Okay, so I can quickly walk you through the console response. So as you can see, when my main method is invoked, it's executing on thread ID 1. Then I started uh, I started preparing coffee, which is a synchronous operation. So my still operation is happening on same thread. I'm preparing coffee, I'm pouring coffee. I entered into the synchronous operation. Then my synchronous operation was completed. I return back to the main method. So as you can see, my all operations are happening on the same thread. So my thread is blocked because I still need to complete these synchronous operations. Then I introduce some asynchronous operations. So my control first goes to uh, frying eggs. So my fry eggs is an asynchronous operation. So you can see my still execution is happening on the same thread. So when my this frying eggs frying gets blocked, so my uh, operations are blocked. So my control is now returning back to the caller. So you can see my bacon is also now getting executed on the same thread. So when my bacon frying is blocked, then my control still again returns back to the main application. Uh, and I'm still executing all the rest of those asynchronous operations on the same thread, as you can see. So since my this is a console-based application, my asynchronous context, my synchronization context is null in these type of application. I can show you that through the console also. I think. So I'll quickly show you how synchronization context is null. So what you basically need to observe is since my toasting or maybe bacon frying and all those operations were blocked earlier and my control returned back to the caller. So these are now executing on separate threads. So when these operations are executed, then I can return back to the main caller and then can start executing rest of my operations. So you can see my main method now starts executing on thread ID 8, and all my rest of the operations have been executed in parallel. So that's how asynchronous programming happens. So you started operation on coffee, working on main thread. All these operations also executed on the main thread on the same thread ID. So when those operations start, they got blocked. My control returned back to the main application. I started performing these operations, and at the same time, all my frying bacon process, creating toast, or maybe frying eggs, all those operations happened on another threads. And when I awaited those operations, if there was a scenario that these operations were still in progress, so my main method might also have had returned back the thread to the thread pool. So once all those operations got unblocked, my control returned back to this application, and then it started executing rest of the operations. So that's how your asynchronous operations execute. So you are taking benefit that you are able to execute operations on the same thread also in case there is some bandwidth available, and in case there is the rest of the operations are available with the input and output. So you can schedule other threads also on those methods. So that's all about asynchronous methods. We can quickly move to the Q&A section if required.